All right, we are streaming. Welcome everybody to today's session. It's going to be for about an hour or less, depending on how many questions we get. I'm Nelly Yusupova. For those of you who may not know me, I am a CTO and a startup tech advisor and creator of Tech Speak for Entrepreneurs, which is an online training where I teach the most effective and efficient ways to manage tech teams and projects. And I work with early stage entrepreneurs to really help them understand the importance of taking control of their process, introducing a process if they don't have one. Because what I find is that a lot of startups just try to figure it out and they wing it and they leave a lot of money on the table. I also teach a lot of free webinars on the topic. If you have no idea how to get started, if you don't know how to first begin with optimization of the process, go check out the link in my bio. Or if you're in Clubhouse, the link that I pinned to the top. If you're watching us on other streaming channels, go to techspeak.co and you'll be able to, in the navigation, click on free classes and attend some of those. Um, Today, I wanted to start framing the conversation around the topic of agility. And I had this, again, a lot of these topics are top of mind with a lot of the founders that I end up consulting with throughout the week. And the conversations that come up uh, on what they can be doing. So today, I was consulting with a student as a fractional CTO, and the question that we talked about is, do they need to go from 2 week sprints to shorter sprints, right? And for those of you who are not familiar with Agile methodologies, I'm going to do a quick uh, recap of what it is, and then we'll go ahead and answer the questions from there. So, agile methodologies allow you to cut development time and be able to manage the development process a lot more quicker and more efficiently. So the difference between, or the opposite of agile, is waterfall. And this is where you kind of make a big plan up front. You commit to a certain build that you're going to be doing, and then you spend 3 to 6 months, sometimes a year, working on that product. And the big inefficiency with that process is that if you discover that something has changed in the market or with consumers, or that you're going in the wrong direction, you really can't make changes to your plan, because once you've commit to what you're going to build, no changes can be done. That's the true definition of waterfall. And for startups, and I think essentially anyone, especially in today's environment where things are changing constantly, being able to adapt to the changing environment and adapt the product roadmap is really efficient and is really important and necessary. So if you're not familiar with Agile, if you're not using it in your startup right now, you must be using it. That's the first thing. And if you're already using Agile, the thing that I'm going to be pushing you for is try to increase your releasing cycles from 2 week sprints to weekly sprints to even daily sprints and even multiple times a day. Because the beauty of doing and increasing your delivery cycles is that you are increasing your agility and learning capacity. With every single release and deploy that you're making, you are hopefully, if you're implementing analytics properly, start to gather user behavior data and understanding how your users are interacting with this new feature and functionality that you've just introduced into the application. So that's really, really important from a business perspective, right? Being able to learn quickly and pair that up with the lean way of building products, it goes very, very hand in hand to be able to use this faster way of releasing. So we went through a lot of conversation of, the pros and cons of increasing delivery times, and there's um, there's really nothing negative in that process in order to, go from 2 week sprints to weekly sprints to daily sprints. But the team needs to be trained to be able to do that. And so what's required is a really great product manager who can push the team to start to execute this way. And that whole mentality that I teach at TechSpeak, learn early, learn often, learn cheap, really comes in handy when all of your team members are naturally trained to think this way. And that's what's going to catapult your startup from being able to, not knowing how to best serve your customers to really quickly learning what is the best way for you guys to reach product market fit really quickly. So, for those of you who are not familiar with Agile, or again, if you are doing Agile, but you're not doing frequent enough release cycles, I would encourage you to consider that as an option. So, if you have any questions around that, raise your hand and come up, or anything else that you have a question about, definitely come up to the stage, and I'm happy to answer whatever questions that you may have. We have Ken in joining us from Facebook. Hi, Ken. Uh, would love to, so he's asking, would love to get your tips on hiring a Kotlin and Node.js programmer. Actually, Kotlin, Ken, if you're going to be on a coaching call tomorrow, I'd like to address that there. And because I have some resources that I've prepared for you, and I will mention them in the coaching call tomorrow, so we can actually have a conversation, because I want to make sure that you understand. Just for a lot of you who are wondering what we're talking about, Ken is one of my students, and every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern, we have our coaching call for the people who are going through the TechSpeak training, and they're able to submit questions relating to whatever it is that they learned and implement. And so that's what we are talking about. So yes, Ken, would love. Oh, you can't make it tomorrow. Okay, so I am. Um, let's see. Maybe we can leave that for next week's call. I really do want to make sure that we are talking back and forth, or maybe you can jump into Clubhouse so that we can have a conversation, to be able to do that. So I just want to make sure that we are talking about it, and I can give you general advice, but I want to make sure that you are not stuck in and actually know how to move forward from there. All right. So in the meantime, if I have anybody in Clubhouse who wants to ask a question, jump in and raise your hand. I don't see any hands raised right now. So, one other topic I'll introduce is the topic of co-founders, because that's something that I get asked a lot on, all the time, constantly. So, let's see, I'll also invite Darius to the stage while I'm doing that. So, co-founders is such an important topic, because I see a lot of mistakes a lot of people make around picking a co-founder, especially if you're a non-technical person looking for a technical co-founder. Chances are it's taking you a long time to get a yes from anyone, because you're getting tons of no's from people who have a ton of opportunities, right? I'm talking about technical people, and they don't need another idea person. And so finally, when anybody says yes to you, you you get excited, right? You jump on the opportunity, and oftentimes pick somebody not just because they are a good fit for you as a partner, but because they just happen to say yes, or they happen to be the first person who says yes. So I want to address this question very quickly, and then we'll go from there. So, one thing I would encourage you to think about when we breach the topic of co-founders is that a co-founder is really a partner. Think of it as dating. You are looking for someone who is a long-term partner, who is not just aligned with you on skill set, but is also aligned with you on vision and um, the type of person that you are and values that you have and how you want to grow the company. All of these questions will be more important than the skills, right? The skills you can teach somebody. But if this is a person that you literally can't get along with and can't make important, difficult decisions very quickly because you just are polar opposites, that's going to be a problem for being able to move your startup really quickly to success. So that's why I am so bullish and teach entrepreneurs to really think about the partners that you bring um, into your company and how quickly you say yes. So, what I recommend is that you figure out how you can work on a project together and or build a relationship, and over time, maybe pay them first, right? And over time, you bring them on as a potential partner. So that's what I would recommend. I don't know if you have any follow up questions on that, but Darius, welcome to the stage. I don't want to keep you waiting any longer. I am doing well, Darius. How are you?
I'm doing good. I just have one question. How do you find team members, or when you have a startup, do you usually have to pay your team members, or how do you like get people on board with your idea?
Yeah, it's a great question.
Or would it be better to just hire like freelancers?
Yeah. So the question is, should you build a team? And if you do build a team, in-house team, how do you pay them or how do you compensate them? And or should you hire freelancers to help you build that initial product? And there is the answer. It depends. If you have the money to pay someone, possibly getting a freelancer to help you do it is the fastest way to do it because they already have the skill set. They already have they're ready to get started, right? Um, the caution I would encourage you to think about is if you're not technical and you don't know how to manage, even if you're technical, but you don't know how to manage that process effectively, you could get down the path where you're getting a product that doesn't resonate with users and or it's delayed, and all these other horror stories that we hear around entrepreneurs trying to outsource development and building of their product. So if you're curious about that, check out a webinar that I created, How to Build an MVP Without a Technical Co-Founder. The link is in my right above us. So click on there and check that out. Um, in general, if you don't have anybody to pay, right? If you hire an outsourcing agency and or freelancer, you have to figure out how to pay them. So a lot of startup founders don't have money that they can pay somebody. So in that case, you do need to find partners who can join you as co-founders. And this is what I was just talking about. To find that type of person that you're going to be partners with, that's going to take a while. And so oftentimes I recommend a lot of founders follow a very strategic um, series of steps, anywhere from as much work as you can do on your own, figure out how to validate your idea, build a clickable prototype, maybe invest a little bit of your own money to outsource that building of the MVP. Because the more you have, the more traction you have, the more likely anyone that you're pitching this opportunity to is going to say yes. Oftentimes, if you go into a partnership where you start pitching to people and say, hey, I have this idea, do you want to partner up? It's very hard for them to say yes, because especially if they're really good, because most likely they have other opportunities that they are giving up, especially if they're technical. Now technical people can have their pick and choose like from every single side. Everybody's saying, do you want to work here, do you want to work here, and they can pick and choose the different companies they work for, how much money they can make. And so that time and opportunity cost that you're basically asking them to work for free is what you need to think about. And so as much as you can, de-risk the opportunity for them and the chances of them saying yes, I can do this, or no, this is not a right fit for me, is going to become much more clear for your potential partners. Do as much work as you can, and then you can start to pitch them not from a position of need. I need you to come join my company so that we can actually build this product, but from a position of opportunity. It's a huge mental shift. And if you want to learn more, definitely jump on one of those webinars.
Awesome, thank you.
You are welcome. Go ahead.
Last thing would be, how much would I expect to pay someone per hour to develop my program?
It all depends. There's many different ways to build a product, and in that webinar, I talk about um, the realization that a lot of people don't make, or the connection they don't make, is that for the same exact project, you can expect to pay or get a quote from somebody for $10,000 and $50,000 for exactly the same project, and both projects could be, or both estimates could be, completely legitimate. And that's because the details of what and how you build something matter so much. And anyone that you go to, any technical person that you go to, and they're able to give you a quick range of how much something should cost without asking you details of what and how you're planning on building. All those details need to be defined through the different steps that I teach you. Then they're probably going to be off by at least a factor of 16 if you don't follow that, right? And so don't trust the estimates that people give you unless they actually see the plan, they see the technical specifications with all of the details of what and how you plan to build something. And that could be, again, $5,000. It could be $20,000. It could be $100,000. All depends on what you include in your product, how you want to build each feature and functionality, and what specific tools that you will build. And by the way, the structure of the team that will need to execute that will also depend on how you're going to decide to build and what specific technologies you're going to be using. Okay.
What What if you look overseas for labor? Would the pricing still be the same? Wouldn't it be cheaper to look overseas, or
Absolutely. So overseas, the prices overseas are cheaper, but there's a huge but. If you don't know how to manage the process and you don't know how to set those expectations for how the product is built, yes, you can overall expect to spend less. But if you have to, let's say and I heard lots of these stories, right? A lot of entrepreneurs think that they can hire somebody in India or in China, and they're going to save money that way, and they get quoted $5,000 or $10,000 for a project, and they totally trust the team to do it. The project was off the wrong on the wrong footing from day one, and they realize at the end of the product, when there's a ton of bugs, the product is not exactly what I wanted, right? They blame the team for that, and they eventually have to start from scratch. Sorry about that. They have to start from scratch. And so that's what I mean. Like, it doesn't matter who you go with. You can go with a developer in the US or overseas or anywhere else. You need to be able to be armed with this information so that you know how to set those expectations properly. So you know how to communicate with your development team properly and direct them to give you the strategic advice that you actually need rather than what is expected. They're going to do what they think is the correct thing, which in my experience, a lot of developers will tell you to build something that will scale to millions of users when you have zero, right? Or five or 10 or whatever it is. And they're going to tell you to custom build a lot of things. There's a story from an entrepreneur I was talking to today. Her friend has been building something for 6 months and spent a lot of money because the developers that she hired told her, we need to custom build everything, and for things that could easily be used off the shelf, right? So the combination of custom code, no code, and low code, and all of that stuff is what you eventually need to go with. But not custom coding everything. So hopefully that helps you, Darius, because again, yes, you can save money going overseas, but if you don't manage that process correctly, you will still lose a lot of that money and or have to start from scratch. Just advice from actual experience of and people that I've worked with.
Awesome. Thank you.
You are welcome. Do we have any other questions from anywhere else in where we'll be streaming, YouTube, Facebook, or LinkedIn? You just type your questions into the chat and I see them all in here. Sorry about that. My throat is getting tied up because I was sick last couple of days and talking a lot today. Oh my gosh. Sorry, I'm going to cough again. Sorry about that. Let's see. If there's no other questions, we can conclude this session for today. And I can't talk anyway, so I'm gonna do that. All right. So sorry about that. Again, I muted all the microphones. Hopefully, you didn't have to hear that. In any case, for a lot of you who are curious to about all of these processes that I mentioned, go take the free webinars. I think that'll get you started on the right footing to really understand the specific step-by-step process that I want you to follow to be able to save a lot of the time and money and know how to manage a team properly. Because once you learn that process, then you can go in-house, outsource, have a combination of the teams and be able to successfully set the right expectations, give your teams the exact steps that they need to follow to be successful in whatever it is that you guys are building, and do it on deliver it on time and on budget. So thank you again for joining me. Sorry about my voice and the coughing, and I'll see you guys soon.